Okay everybody, welcome back 4th grade. This is the third video for our geometry unit going over vocabulary words. Today we are going to be talking about 3 specific kinds of lines. Now just for a review, we did talk about lines in the first video, and we talked about how a line goes in either direction continuously forever and ever. It's infinite. And we show lines using arrows. So each of the lines we're going to show here today will have arrows at the end to show that they are lines, but these are specific kinds of lines. And the first kind of line I want to talk about is parallel lines. You might have heard this before. Parallel lines we see everywhere. We see parallel lines when we're driving in our cars and we see the markings separating the 2 different lanes as the car is going down. We might see parallel lines when we're looking at things in our classroom, like the top of the smartboard and the bottom of the smartboard. Okay, parallel lines are 2 straight lines that do not intersect. They do not meet. They never will. They will always stay the same distance apart. Let me show you a diagram. Okay, so in this picture, you can see I've drawn 2 different lines, and you notice this space in between them. The space in between them never changes. It always stays the same distance apart, and that's how I know they will never meet. No matter how far it goes in this direction or how far it goes this way, they will always stay that same distance apart. And those are parallel lines. They don't have to be horizontal lines. You could have parallel lines that are vertical. You could also have parallel lines that are diagonal. In each of these 3 examples, the distance between them remains the same, so they will never meet. So it doesn't matter how it looks on the page, it just matters that that space stays consistent and they will never intersect. Okay? The next kind of line we're going to talk about are perpendicular lines. I did talk about perpendicular lines in the second video when we were talking about angles, because we talked about how the right angle is formed using perpendicular lines. When perpendicular lines intersect, they form right angles. So perpendicular lines are 2 lines that meet or intersect each other at a right angle. So here's an example of that. So intersect means just to meet. So we can see that both of these lines are intersecting each other. And in this case, these lines intersecting each other have created 4 right angles. There's one here, there's another one here, and there's one down below on the left, and there's one down below on the right. So there's 4 right angles being formed by these perpendicular lines. Another example of how a perpendicular line might look is like this. So here you can see this is a straight angle, and this is intersected by a line moving up vertically, and this perpendicular line has formed 2 right angles here. So those are perpendicular and they form 90-degree angles. And finally, we have intersecting lines. Intersecting lines are 2 lines that meet. They may or may not form 90-degree angles. So, for example, this here and this here is also an example of intersecting lines. We could say these are perpendicular. We can also call them intersecting, okay? However, intersecting lines don't have to form right angles. I'm going to show you an example of one that doesn't. So here are 2 lines that I just drew, And you can see right away that yes, they intersect, just like these two lines do and just like these two lines do. But you can tell right away that they are not forming right angles. And actually, this is an obtuse angle. I can tell that's more than 90 degrees. And this is an obtuse angle as well. Okay? And these angles here, on the bottom and the top here, I can tell are acute angles. They're less than 90 degrees. So yes, these lines intersect, but no, they're not perpendicular. So it says here in parentheses, perpendicular lines are intersecting lines, but not all intersecting lines are perpendicular. So this is an example of intersecting lines that are not perpendicular. These are intersecting lines that are perpendicular.